June 14, 2025, in Denver, Colorado, thousands had spent the day marching peacefully as part of the nationwide No Kings protests. There had only been one arrest, and by 4 p.m., most had gone home. But one group wasn't done. They had plans to storm the I-25, the main road running through the heart of Denver. If they made it to the highway, it would mean stopping traffic, risking lives, blocking emergency vehicles, and handing the crowd an open interstate with no way to contain them. Police had been positioned just in front of the on-ramp on Osage Street, essentially serving as the last line holding the crowd back. If that line gave way, nothing would remain between the protesters and the highway.
This is the Denver Police Department. You will be denied all highway access. Please turn doors away from the highway. This is the Denver Police Department. All reasonable force will be utilized, including chemical munitions. Please turn and march away from the highway. This is the Denver Police Department. You will be denied all highway access. All reasonable force will be utilized, including chemical munitions, to deny this access. Please turn and march away from the highway. You will be denied all highway access. Attack for your new position. Or it will be utilized. Big loss, sir. Please turn and march away from the highway.
So far, the crowd had been relatively peaceful, but slowly, things were starting to escalate, and the police had to find a way to disperse the crowd.
Yeah, I remember that. I used to do them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna rate that a little bit. Just doing a few things.
The crowd refused to follow their orders, so the police had no choice but to turn up the heat.
Your time is up. You must leave now.
effective in pushing the crowd back and creating distance between protesters and police. But it also raised tensions across the scene, leaving many people frustrated, agitated, and more confrontational than they had been moments earlier.
Okay, get ready for this one. So this is the city of Hamtramck, Michigan. It is just north of
scene in time.
The trial for an 80-year-old man accused of kicking an Orange City police officer during an arrest is delayed.
That's because the officer involved was placed on administrative leave for a separate incident. Orange News' Patrick Perez has been tracking this case, and Patrick, the man's family says that this whole process has been frustrating.
Yeah, we first told you about this arrest back in April. That 80-year-old man who has Parkinson's suffered broken ribs during that arrest. The family says it should have never happened, and they're still calling for those officers involved to be fired. This is 80-year-old Edward Bowman.
I thought I was going to do something to them, and all three officers were sitting on top of me.
Bowman was charged with resisting an officer with and without violence in connection to an incident at his home in Orange City last September.
You got one chance to get out of the way. He knows I'm here.
The call was in regard to Bowman's stepdaughter, Tammy Goodman, supposedly trespassing. She shares the property with her ex-husband.
He took him straight to the ground, and he was on his knees because his knee was all scraped up and busted open.
Orange City police officer Stephen Neely, seen here on the right, claims Bowman kicked him during the arrest. Goodman denies that.
With their knees in his back and breaking his ribs, there was no way for him to do any of that.
Bowman's trial was supposed to begin this upcoming Monday, but earlier this week it was pushed back again.
They're pushing everything back until August and September.
According to a court document, Officer Neely was placed on administrative leave on June 4th. He was also not served with the state's trial subpoena. The state requested a continuance back in February when another involved officer was on administrative leave and unavailable for trial.
Just because you're out on administrative leave doesn't give you the right not to go to court.
Bowman's family has grown frustrated with the process. They say getting Bowman, who has Parkinson's and mobility issues, to court has not been easy.
This man's elderly, has to keep going to court. Obviously, we see he's very disabled.
We reached out to Orange City Police about Officer Neely and Bowman's case. In a statement, the department says Officer Neely is placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of an internal investigation. Because this is an active personnel matter, the agency will not comment on the allegations or the details of the investigation. The administrative leave is unrelated to Bowman's criminal case, which remains pending before the court. The agency will not comment on ongoing litigation or active investigation. Bowman's family just wants this chapter closed.
The charges should definitely, absolutely be dropped, and the officers still need to be fired.
And Bowman's stepdaughter Goodman, who you just heard from there, she was also arrested that same day, but she had those charges dropped. As of right now, Bowman's trial is set for the second week of September. We'll let you know if anything changes. Covering Volusia County.
Live and protests underway right now in Turkey. We also have some dramatic video
This
from
is
earlier
13
today.
years
People
ago.
angry over the government's plan to
13
revamp
years ago.
Istanbul's
This is
main square.
2013.
Many of them staging a sit-in. They're hoping to stop developers from knocking down trees. Protesters using water cannons and tear gas to disperse the crowds. Watch out, this poor guy's about to knock down.
Ooh.
There he goes. Protesters blame the Prime Minister.
Fun way.
You
You bet. I remember they used to do that. You probably find some of those back in the 80s. They used to just hose them down.
tear gas. Why isn't the city of Portland opening their water cannons for crowd control?
Oh, I used to do that all the time. Took care of problems because people get hurt. Yeah, seriously, there's some damage. Right, and then not knowing if there's right. People started bringing their kids and holding their kids in the car. Yeah.
Not everyone knows. So I'll give you the benefit
Pretty bad, huh?
police and firefighters. They've tried this before, right? They used fire hoses and water cannons to black people during peaceful non-violent
For what
protests in the
purpose?
1960s. This isn't just a spritz of water. These are high-pressure hoses. Turned up so high that they knocked people over. They literally ripped people's clothes off. Hoses were used on protesters in Birmingham, Alabama, 1963. Life magazine printing this very famous photo of black high school students being forced against a wall.
So you go back. That's also
Children and other young
bad.
people were also killed. Along with being clubbed by police and attacked by dogs. These images drew national outcry, including Oregon Senator Wayne Morse. He
Right.
compared
Well,
what's
you
happening
think
in
back
Birmingham
to some of those.
apartheid in South Africa. Now, if you are familiar with that history, but you still think police should be using
Yeah,
fire
no,
hoses
for
on
real. When
protesters,
that was, you think of black rights and back when with different stuff in certain areas, bad racism as far as like using different water fountains and yeah, the whole Rosa Parks and all the best. It spans over you see,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since
decades
you bring it
there
up,
where
why
certain
don't we start there?
areas.
Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago.
Yeah, I mean, you
Do you
see-
think that men can get pregnant?
You're seeing it today in other places where we don't want packies here. Whatever immigrants are being moved into different areas, people start acting like whatever. And, yeah, that's why we have human rights laws and stuff like that, because back in those days the laws weren't in place yet. So yeah, a lot of those protests and stuff, the Martin Luther King marches, put those laws in place, so the laws are in place. We have the human rights laws. People can't, businesses can't go put a sign up and say white only restroom or water fountain. You can't do that. I don't know. Maybe in some places you can. I don't know. Maybe put the sign up. But I mean, legally, I'm pretty sure. I want to check into that. I don't think you get you. I see where you're going with that, but you get what we're saying, right? Yeah, because back in those days when those protests, Martin Luther King, all those marches, remember? Yeah, there were some rural areas that were pretty bad doing that kind of stuff. Like white only water fountain, white only restroom. Right, and they did it to, yeah, retards too. Yeah, Forrest Gump, he had the funny legs, handicapped kid. This seat's taken. It's taken. Seat's taken. You can't sit here. Can't sit here, cripple. Right? So, yeah. I mean, it's not, kids can be mean. So can adults. It's really stupid. But, yeah, so that's why back then, that's a big cornerstone in American history, because those laws, yeah, were enacted and put in place, so people can't do that. Yeah, no, they'd get sued. If they did that, yeah, they would get sued. You can do whatever you want in your own fucking home. We're talking about public establishments, right? Where are you at? Yeah, you do whatever you want in your own home. Yeah, I mean, there are some things, though, that might get you arrested. If you murder somebody in your own home, you can get arrested for that. Right, you do whatever you want. If you drink and drive, you get arrested for that. I wouldn't suggest it. I would not suggest you murder anybody or drink and drive. Two very bad things. Illegal. That's why we have laws. Thank goodness. Hey, did you see that? What did they do? They were trying to block, is it Arkansas or something, from using nitrogen gas to execute people? I don't know. Alright, yeah, we're actually running out of space on that, so talk to you in a little bit.